Each year, the Product Agility podcast goes on tour. We get to go to some of the best conferences and interview some of the most influential speakers out there. And this year is no different. We kick off our TalkInTen initiative for 2024 by visiting Lean Agile London. Lean Agile London is a fantastic community event which has a lot of soul and a lot of energy to it. They've also attracted some of the best speakers I've seen on a lineup for a long time. Over the next few days, we are going to be bringing you as many of these speakers' talks in 10 as we possibly can do. Each of his episodes will be recorded on the ground in the moment, so you may hear some background noise. I hope that adds to the ambience and makes it feel like you're there with us. This episode of the Product Agility Podcast is sponsored by Aha Slides, your solution for more engaging and productive team meetings. Transform your team's learning experience with Aha Slides AI-powered tools designed to quickly generate quizzes and interactive content. Boost engagement and efficiency in one go. Well, what more can you ask for? Visit ahaslides.com and use the exclusive discount code ProdAgility2024 to get 50% off of all yearly plans. Now, shall we get on to our talk in 10? This is a first for the Product Agility podcast. Well, I say it first. The Lean Agile London 2024 Talks in 10 series, there's actually been a little run of firsts. It was the first conference we went to where we recorded Talks in 10 after the event. It was also the first conference that we partnered with where I was interviewed for a talk that I gave. I was interviewed for my own talk in 10, which was a joy. And to round off our little trio of firsts, this is the first time we're going to interview someone for a talk in 10 who didn't actually get to give their talk. Sounds a bit strange, I know, but please bear with me. Because listeners, Avipaul, who I'm joined by today, was unable to make the last day of the conference. So what everybody got instead of his excellent talk was my rather average talk, which was a consolation prize. And I thought, you know what, it would be just so nice to give everyone the opportunity to hear what Avipaul had to say in a little summary and also make me feel better because I don't know, I felt a bit awkward, like stepping into your shoes. And I did apologise when I started giving my talk. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not Avipaul. And everyone, some people left when they realised like I wasn't you. Not true. But Avipaul, thank you so much for sparing this time on a Friday afternoon. I really appreciate it. Would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners and giving a bit of an overview of the talk that you are going to give?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here. And I'm sure you won a consolation prize. I heard your talk was amazing. My name's Avipaul Bhandari. Been doing this agile thing for about 20 odd years now. Have lots of titles, including Agile Coach, Scrum Master, Technical Program Manager, Engineering Manager, lots of different titles. Lots of different companies, big, small, startups, scale-ups, all over the place. But Agile has been core to what I've been doing for a long time. And the talk I was going to give was called Cultivating Empathy, the Secret Sauce for Agile Success. And so it's all very saucy. Sorry. No. So in this talk, I was going to discuss my personal experience where using empathy has led to improved agility. So when we hear about agile transformations, with any transformation, there are people who are very keen to jump on this and say, yes, let's do this. I believe in this. And there are people who are less keen. No, over my dead body. I'm working the way I am, and that's how I want to continue to work for infinity. Or, you know what I'm saying. And I've found that empathy and applying empathy in this scenario, in different scales, has led to helping those people who may not see the benefit of what you're doing, and how it might help them to actually embrace the change. And understand your perspective while you understand theirs. And it's led to all the good things that we associate with Agile, to improve transparency, collaboration, team dynamics, value delivery, and psychological safety. I know we hear that term thrown around a lot, but it's led to that. It's led to all the nice things and positive things, and ultimately business value delivery.
Nice. I feel even got a bit weirder now because my talk was also a similar topic.
Oh,
It was about empathy, but from a product vision perspective. But yeah, now I'm just kind of smiling inside because it's nice that at least I delivered on part of what you promised to deliver. So given that, your talk, was it stories? Was it practical advice? Was it a mixture? Like, what did you want people to leave with after the talk?
It was a series of stories of real life experiences. I framed the talk by kicking it off by covering the 4 attributes of empathy defined by Dr. Teresa Wiseman. The first one being being able to take on someone else's perspectives and recognizing the truth in their perspective. Second is being non-judgmental, because judging discounts their experience and their opinions, and requires you to put away your own thoughts, opinions, assumptions, leave your ego at the door. Third being recognizing another's emotion and understand their feelings. Sometimes that requires you to be in touch with your own feelings in order to understand theirs, overcoming your own to understand theirs, and also recognizing the traits, non-verbal traits, what they're saying, the content of what they're saying. And the fourth is being able to communicate your understanding of their feelings. There's neuroscience to that, where if people are reacting in the fight or flight state, they're in the amygdala. But if you're able to label their emotions in that moment, it takes it from the amygdala to more rational parts of the brain. That's just an example of how that can help. You're communicating your understanding of their feelings and labeling their emotions as such, it can help someone process what you're saying, which is quite interesting. There is neuroscience to this, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in that space, but it is really interesting what happens in the brain and how these techniques help people in general.
Yeah,
and the different scenarios. Sorry, Karen.
No, mate. Sorry, go on, carry on. Go on.
The different scenarios I covered ranged from, meeting someone for the first time and then them telling me, I hate Agile. It's just like, okay, I'm an Agile coach. Where do we go from here? And then, angry team members and overbearing product owners and teams that are cynical, and just a few different scenarios. And where I talked about my own judgment, because we're all human. So, when you're met with, I hate Agile, so obviously I want to be judgmental towards that. And then, and the 4 attributes and applying them to all these scenarios.
But are you going to be giving this talk anywhere else?
Sounds like a good idea.
I'd like to come along, purely selfish reasons, because I'm just I know we haven't got a huge amount of time today, but I'm really intrigued by these 4 attributes. I must admit, it's not something that I've come across before, so I'll be looking that up, and I'd love to hear about your application of it. So, are you intending to do this at any meetups or conferences in the foreseeable?
I would like to. It's not something I've actively planned at the moment, but I will be in touch with meetups and let them know that I have this talk available. I'm also considering potentially turning this into a video series, just to upload onto LinkedIn, for example, where I have a few examples for the talk, but potentially there are other examples I can talk through as well.
Awesome. So everyone follow Avipaul on LinkedIn. You don't mind people stalking like that, do you? Yes, that's okay.
No,
to kind of get people to follow. Yeah. Stalk him because I think you want to see that video series. So I know we're running out of time rapidly. Time is annoying like that. But what I'd love to know is, from your experience, what has been the one greatest success that you've had in your career from cultivating empathy?
I think back to a very specific example where I was a program lead. I think the group was about 30 people, so there was a few teams, and the teams had different challenges, but so for example, one team was quite apathetic, another team was quite aggressive and resistant, and they had written me off before I'd even started. And so I turned up in an environment which was quite toxic, and you could see how this was actually manifesting in terms of the process. So, for example, there were tickets on the board that had been there for weeks, and stakeholders adding more and more to the backlog without there being any kind of process in place, any kind of to ensure that wasn't going to happen. So there was plenty of scope for improvement in terms of agility, and I'd been asked to introduce agile practices, but there wasn't that acceptance when I joined because, hey, who are you and why are you going to tell us what to do? And so it was only through taking an empathetic approach, understanding what their concerns were, understanding what their problems were, and having these conversations. So putting this judgment aside, whilst I knew I was kind of public enemy number one at the time, was actually meeting with people saying, hey, what is going wrong? How can we help? And what are your ideas? And that turned that group from being highly toxic and resistant to any help to actually embracing it and being a very nice place to work. People were laughing, smiling, psychological safety was in place. They were sharing things with each other. When I turned up, it was a case of the loudest people were heard and the quietest people hardly got a word in edgeways. By the time I left, the quietest people were actually facilitating meetings as well as contributing to key conversations, and ideas were coming from everywhere. So awesome. That's an example.
And it all starts from empathy. I mean, what a marvelous story. And I think a lesson for us all. I think there's not enough empathy in the world. So yeah, I thank you very much for sharing that story. And now, we're at time. I love a talking 10, but I'm the worst because my talking 10 ended up being a talking 20 because I wouldn't shut up, right? And poor old Shelby and Henrietta, I just talked and talked and talked and talked, and they didn't know what to do because it's Ben's podcast, but I wasn't the host at that point. So it saddens me to say that our time is up. Avipaul, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. I know it kind of it's a weird setup because you didn't get to do the talk, but as soon as you have a meetup or something lined up, do let me know, and we'll make sure that we put it out on the podcast channel so that everyone kind of is made aware of what it is. And if they can come along, then I really urge people to, because it sounds like a wonderful talk. I take it LinkedIn is the best place for people to find you should they want to.
Yeah, that's right. Or Spotify. Awesome. You can type my first name and you'll get some music back, which is
really?
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing in a minute. Okay.
Give a plug.
Yeah, no, do it. I will put the link to LinkedIn and chuck a Spotify link in there as well, perhaps. To some of your music.
I'm not singing about Agile though, so apologies.
Oh, in that case, no. In that case, products. Are you talking about product development, product management, or anything?
Story points, no.
Mate, I'm not. Yeah, I'm still going to put it in there as long as it's not like something really awful. Like it turns out you're like a really right wing. Like this is not what people want to hear. I didn't. No, okay, maybe not that. I'm sure it's not that.
No, it isn't.
Avipaul, thank you so much, my friend. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. This concludes our Talks in 10 for Lean Agile London 2024. Do make sure that you are hitting bells and stuff on podcast platforms, because we will be back with an episode with it'll probably be this week with Dan North and Jeff Got Health, which is going to just a brilliant episode. Two people that I admire massively, and I just get to spend an hour chatting to him. It's wonderful. And then the following week, we're at Scrum Day London. We're going to be doing more Talks in 10 with more brilliant speakers. So yeah, you don't want to miss that. So thank you very much for listening. Avipaul, thank you very much for coming on. This has been the Product Agility Podcast, and I am Ben Maynard. Thank you very much.